And welcome to day 3 of Excel. We have some exciting things to do today. We're going to do a worksheet, going to expand more on formulas and functions. We're going to be creating something that will look like this little store called Hypermass Online Storage. This is in your book page EX67 if you want to follow along there. Lots of pictures there, giving you an idea what we're going to be building. And going to be basically starting again with a blank workbook, and we'll be entering column titles going in an organized fashion just like we did before. So let's go back to see what we're going to be creating, and let's see if I can get this to zoom in a little for you here. And just to lay out our plan here, we're going to be making some titles. I'm going to have us maybe add our name to that beginning title, like cs101. We're going to be putting column headings across the top, just very similar to how we did our budget table, our budget estimate. We'll be adding some data here, departments that some people are in, how much they're getting paid, and pretty much from column 3, actually column 4 onward, we're going to be letting Excel do more of the work. Last time we let Excel do the summation for us. We're going to be having Excel do lots more work. Some of these are summations, like these totals. The little red highlighted cells is something Excel is going to do called conditional formatting. It's turning that red based on a certain value. These people have worked overtime, and we want to highlight that automatically. And Excel is going to do that by using conditional formatting. So we're going to start this table, laying out our column headings, entering data here, and these cells right here, and then all the rest of these are formulas. I think the hire date is just something that's not a formula. We'll be entering the hire date. So the only data we're entering is these cells and these cells. Everything else here is based on formulas that come from our tax code, and they're fairly confusing formulas, but that doesn't matter. We're going to let Excel deal with them. So let's jump ahead to what our columns are going to look like here as we enter them, and we should have, as we enter data, we'll have a table that looks like this. So I'll just keep that. I'm just going to highlight that, and I think from this you'll be able to see what to enter. So rather than read through the text, type this in a cell, I'm just going to put this up here, and I'll put that at the top, and then in Excel we'll just be filling in our data like that. So I'm going to have Excel over up on a separate page here and let you view that. Get Excel going here. I'm going to be doing a blank worksheet, making it my default blank workbook. And I'm going to hide my menu bar just so I have more room on my page. I'm going to pull this down and enter the data just like I see it there. And then once we have this data entered, we'll come back and get the formulas going. So I'm going to follow the right cell addresses just so when I see formulas, I can use the exact same cell addresses. And I'm going to put, for the title, I'm going to put cs101 ex2 by my name, and then put Hypermass Online Storage. As I come to cell, or to column C, I'm going to stop there and show how I can get that hours worked to wrap. There's 2 ways to get that to wrap. You can force a new line, or just let Excel wrap it where it works, which is the way I like it. So first time I'm going to do this, I'm going to put hours, And if I want it to force it to start on a new line, I can hold down, I can't remember if it's Alt-Enter or Shift-Enter. I think it's Alt-Enter and then worked. That forces a new line. If I hadn't done an Alt-Enter, it would overlap into the next cell. Now I'm going to do this a different way here. I'm going to type in hourly pay rate, no Alt-Enters, but this time I'm going to click on the cell after clicking off of it, so I'm not in edit mode. I'm going to right-click Format Cells. Right-click Format Cells. In Excel, the right-click Format Cell will be something you're going to want to be very comfortable with. So right-click Format Cell brings up a dialog that lets you control how the data is displayed. And one of the very important tabs on this is the Alignment tab, where I can tell it right here to wrap the text. Wrapping the text, watch what happens now when I tell it to wrap the text. It will automatically, when I have spaces in anything I'm typing there, will automatically, like in paragraphs in Microsoft Word, will force the break at the good spot. If I drag and lengthen that column, it will make it one line. If I shorten it, it'll wrap it a little. If I shorten it more, it'll wrap it more. And I want it about there. Double-clicking on it gives it a nice wrapping, just like it shows in the book. So know the two ways. If you see where you want to make a line break, Alt-Enter. If you want to let Excel give you the line breaks, right-click, Format Cells, Alignment, Wrap Text. And we're going to be coming back to here. This alignment page lets you rotate the cell, lets you adjust how things are merged. And the reason I come to this a lot is I'm from old school, where this used to be the only way we could control things. Where now there's many shortcut keys that do those options for you. So those dialogues, very handy. So let's continue then. Gross pay, federal tax, state tax, tax percent. I'm tabbing over as I fill in more cells, and hire date. Entering takes me to the next line, and I can come down here and start typing in my employee information. And I think what I'm gonna go down the column. That's easier for me to get all the information. I'll move my Excel down a little bit so I get everybody's name. Then we'll come back and put in formulas. I think that's Susan. I can come back and correct those if I get them wrong. And you can always look in the book too. When you see Rodriguez's first name, I'll have to go back to that one. Before going back and correcting the names, I'll come back and put in their number of dependents. Easy to go right down the column. Come back and do their pay rate. In future assignments, I'm going to be giving you the data so you can copy and paste it without having to do all the retyping yourself. But this is the last one. I think this is the last one where you're having to type much. because I want you to concentrate on the formulas. But this isn't too much data, just a little bit typing practice. And I'll jump over to the hire date column. That's the last column that I need to do any typing. And that is column J, and I'll go up. There it is. So there's all the data you have. I'll zoom in as big as I can here. And I'm going to enlarge this column and go back and check all the names of my employers on the other page, and I'll come back and correct those. So where do they give us the names? Yeah, they give you a whole table of the data on page, I'm not seeing the page number. Page EX71 has all the numbers and names. I'll just put them in here based on that table. I think I got it right here. Carl Michael, Sue Green. Oh, it's Sue, not Susan. Double click on any cell to edit. Ada Pearson, not Andrew Pearson. Rodriguez, double click is Juan. Williams is Sean. So those are the full names. And what I'll do is I'll drag this column over, zoom in a little for you so you can get all the data in case you need to. So there's all the employee data. I'm just double checking my numbers. And just to make it easier to check as I look at the table on EX71, I'm going to put these columns in comma format by right-clicking. Where's my comma format? Oh man, it doesn't have comma format there. I guess I have to open up the Home tab to see the comma format right there. Because in the book they have them in 2 digits, I'm going to put those in 2-digit format, the comma format. Now I can compare a little more easily to what I see in the book. So I'm going down the line. Looks like I got my numbers right. And the hire dates really don't matter, but looks like I have them right as well. Okay, and we got your data in there. I'll give you time. Don't worry about needing to rush, because once we're done, it'll really go quickly as we let Excel do the work. We're going to be coming back to all these other columns and filling in the formula. So if you have your data, you can look ahead on the pages. Oh, I'm going to go down here to the bottom here. While I'm here, I'm going to add some columns, row titles. Underneath this row, we're also going to have a totals row and a highest, a lowest, and an average calculation of the numbers in the columns above. And this time they're not putting in a blank row for us, and that will cause us a little bit of problems when we're doing automatic functions, but we'll figure that out. So go ahead and get your hourly pay rate and your hire date. If you want, you can skip the hire date because that really doesn't affect any other formulas, and you can come back and put in hire dates later. Be sure to get these numbers in. I'm going to look at some formulas here now. Think about these formulas right here. Our gross pay in column E is going to be hours worked times hourly pay rate. I want to work from this description of the formulas rather than just telling you, oh, it's E8 times F some or times C8 times C. Think of here, what column has the hours worked and what column has the hourly pay rate to give you gross pay. So let's look at the gross pay for Michael. Let's just figure it out for Michael, and then we'll do what we did before. We'll fill handle down once we figure out all the correct numbers for Michael. So I'm going to go back and stretch these columns out. Unhide columns, and now they show up. So for gross pay for Michael, it's hours worked times hourly pay rate. So remember how we do formulas. We start it with the equal symbol, and we point to the cell that has Michael's hours worked, which ends up being C4. So just click on that cell, and it puts in the address of the cell. Times hourly pay rate, so the times is the asterisk, not the X. Asterisk is multiplication. And the gross and his hourly pay rate is right there in column D4. I could have typed C4 times D4, but I think it's more helpful to you to see why we're multiplying C4 times D4. The gross pay, how many hours they worked, times their rate of pay. Whatever cell holds those values, we put those in the multiplication and hit enter before clicking anywhere else. And there we have Michael's gross pay. I'm not going to worry about Sue's or anybody's because all I have to do is fill handle down. After I get all of Michael's information, I'll select all the cells and fill handle them down together. So federal tax. We'll start with Anthony. What do I put here? If federal tax is, it's a little more complicated formula. 0.22 times gross pay minus dependents times this. All you need to do here is figure out, well, what's the address of where the dependents are? What's the address of the gross pay? And then the rest is multiplying. Think you can do that?
So equals.
Yep, equals. Well, remember, I can just put this right by hand. So 0.22 and then asterisk for the times. And then what comes next?
Gross pay.
Don't forget the left parenthesis. Do you put the left parenthesis in there? Very important because that's there in the formula. Remember, the parenthesis makes that get calculated first and then get multiplied by 0.22. Okay, so now where's gross pay? Yeah, I could type E4 or just click on the cell E4 and it puts E4 there. And then minus. Yeah. Click on that cell where its address is B4. And then remember the times is the asterisk. And they give us the number 24.32. So this is a number given to us by the tax code. We don't know where they got these numbers from. We don't care, but that's just the rule. 0.22 times something having to deal with dependents. So what we see here is as I have more dependents, I get less federal tax because it's subtracted from what's being multiplied. So this number gets smaller as I have more dependents. And so there's my federal tax. And because it's annoying me to see so many extra numbers, I'm going to go to my home tab and put that in comma format. So I just see the two decimals. And I'm going to narrow the size of that column. And now go to state tax. Paul, can you do this one? It's getting a little easier. That federal tax was the most expensive one, complicated one.
0.04 times E4.
Yes, and don't forget the equal.
Yeah.
0.04, you don't have to type 0.04. It understands. And the asterisk for multiply and gross pay. Now, one thing to pay attention here is, notice it doesn't matter what happened, how gross pay got calculated. Whether I typed 1178.78 or a formula figured that out, I can multiply by what's in that cell, even though that's another formula Excel has calculated. So we're building formulas on top of formulas, left to right. So showing us the power of Excel, but also showing us if we mess up this formula, it's going to mess up everything else. So be very careful as you enter the formulas, because other formulas are dependent on what's calculated there. And you can even have Excel show you the dependence by just double-clicking here. It shows you that that cell is dependent on that. And escape, and then double-click on that one. It shows what that cell depends on, highlighting them. And there is even a special tool that actually shows little arrows showing all your dependencies. All right, Hannah, what's the tax calculation here?
Equals mark.
Yep. Parenthesis.
F4.
Yep, federal tax. Yep.
G4.
Very good.
Slash. E4.
Excellent. Remember, whenever you're doing math, remember we can't divide by 0. So if you have a 0 here, you'll get a crazy error message here, but that's just because what I was dividing by happened to be 0. So if this accidentally was blank, I'll get a strange error message there, even though my formula is correct. So watch out when you're dividing, and I'm going to put that in comma format too by going to the Home tab and clicking comma. Oh, comma, not percent. And I messed it up. Oh, that's right. And I want to show that in percent, so I guess I do want percent. Sorry. I'm going to click percent, not comma. There, 17%. I'm going to increase the number of decimals in the percent by 2. I think I want to see 2 decimals in that percent. And I'm going to narrow that column down. And now, Katie, what do we do for net pay? Oh, don't panic when you see that. That just means I made it too narrow. What's net pay?
Pay
Equals D4, E4. Gross pay, yep.
minus
And parenthesis,
F4
yep, F4,
plus G4
parenthesis. Very good. And Excel nicely highlighting to confirm, yes, those are the correct cells. Now watch what I can do here. I could go to this cell here, and I could give it the name gross pay. I could come over here and type gross pay. And I could actually refer to that cell as gross pay. But that only would work for Michael's gross pay. It won't let me name multiple cells the same name. Every name has to be unique. I can actually give names to cell. Yes, Paul?
I don't know. My formula, I got like 25%.
I got 20.
When I do F4 plus G4 divided by.
In the tax percent?
Yeah. You have minus.
Uh-oh, I had an error there. Yep. Got carried away. There we go.
And how did you do the 2%?
And any cell, if you want to see more decimals,
Yeah.
on the Home tab, you can always increase the decimal right there. I think the right click lets you do it too.
Oh.
Right there, the little increase or decrease decimal. Very handy for showing more decimals or less. Right click to show or increase decimal, or the Home tab, show or increase decimal. But I also can put it in percent format as well. Remember, it's in percent format and with more decimal. Since it's a percent number, I put it in percentage display. Remember, that's not actually changing the actual mathematical number. What this number actually is mathematically is 0.2464. But percentage-wise, it's 24.64. If I decrease decimal, I will see it round for me. And so where'd my right, there we go. If I decrease a decimal, you'll see it change to 25 as I throw away decimal, but it rounds for me. So as I increase decimal, I'll see, well, it's actually more accurately 24.64. Now that I have that in for Michael, to get everyone else's, it's all one, well, two clicks and a drag. Click and drag across all of Michael's and grab the fill handle and drag down. It will do everyone else's. That's using Excel to do all that work. Look how much work Excel is doing right there. I'm going to put all these, well, actually, I'm not going to mess with the tax percent. I'm going to put all these numbers here in comma format because they're dollars. I don't like to, I'm going to double click to keep my tab open there. And I'm going to put them all in comma format to make them a little more readable. These here, I'm going to, well, they're already in comma format. I have all my numbers, and right now I'm going to verify that by comparing it to what I see in the book. I'll leave that up there, and I'll bring the book page over on my other screen, and I'll do a quick compare. Actually, what I might do, I think I'll just calculate the totals like they're doing, and then I'll just compare my totals number, because if they're wrong, then I can just go back and look in detail. So now totals, remember how we did totals, just like the last time. We're going to let Excel do the work. We don't care about total dependence. That's not a very important number. But we do care about total hours work, I think. Let me make sure. I think actually, let's see where they want to start totals. I'm not sure they care about total hours work yet. So I'm skipping ahead a few pages. In the book, they go through more detail, picture by picture, showing you and explaining the point and click and how we calculated all that. And I'm seeing my totals. They're looking pretty good. And now in the sum, they're starting with hours worked. Yes, they do want totals for hours worked. Remember how we can do that with just multiple clicks and one click on the summation. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I can click here, control click here. I want to total the gross pay. Control click, and control click on net pay. And just click the sum. It'll automatically sum the numbers above those cells with a slight delay here because of the recording. And I'm going to double click on my cell column heading here to get my numbers to come out right. Now I could have clicked one at a time. Click, sum, click, sum, click, sum, or select and sum, and it jumps out, calculates all my sums. The highest is a new formula we're going to introduce. Highest is also a very common formula, so it's up here. It's called max. But watch what happens when I click max. It's going to choose automatically the wrong numbers. We don't want the total included in the max. So we have to go back and say, wait a minute, I only want these numbers to be compared, and this max returns the highest of the numbers that are in its range of calculation, C4 colon C12. So I want the max of just the number of dependents. And I hit enter, and now the lowest is similar. I'm going to come up here and choose min, the minimum. And again, it picks the wrong numbers because it doesn't understand I only want the minimum of those numbers. And then I hit enter. And average. Come up here, and it's another standard function, average. And again, only the average of the actual dependents of people, not my previous calculations. And now I have highest, lowest, average calculated for the correct columns. Actually, I do want, looks like I do want the summation, no, I don't want summation of hourly pay rate. Now with this one, to have it go to other cells, I can do my favorite thing, copy, and come over here, select where I want to paste it, and paste, and select it over here, and paste again.
How did you do the max?
Oh, the max is, let me do that again. I click on the built-in functions, choose max, choose or adjust the range it has automatically chosen to just be the people's dependents, or sorry, hours worked. And then hit enter. Remember, Alt tick mark, sorry, not that, Control tick mark shows me my formulas that go there. Control tick mark again turns them off. So just so you can see the formulas I have there, there's the formulas that are calculated. That then I can simply do copy and paste, and it automatically adjusts over to the column I'm in. See how when I did the paste, it changed my column C to column E, leaving everything out the same. That's called relative addressing. We're going to learn more about that. So control tick mark shows me my numbers, and I'll zoom out a little bit. Look how quickly we can get a very detailed look at our salary report. And the rest of this now is, well, most of the rest is cleaning it up, making it look nice and pretty. I'm not sure we care about, let's see if we're putting any other columns in here. This may be all the numbers that we're doing. Total tax percentage. I guess we do want the total tax percent. I could click here and do the summation, or I could copy one next to me over. Or no, wait a minute. We didn't do that. Sorry, we're not doing the total. We're not adding them up. We're using the percentage formula in that cell. We're not doing a total. Sorry about that. We are doing a percentage looking at the other total numbers to see the tax percent. And I'm not sure how meaningful that number is to the actual employer, but let me do that again. The tax percentage isn't the summation. It's doing the same formula we had like this. It used those three cells to calculate a percent, that one plus that one. Let's see. Yeah, the tax divided by the gross pay. It's going to do the tax, total tax divided by total gross pay to get the total tax percent. So this formula here is a little special from the others. And they show you that on page EX81. So we've got the max and min, calculating it all for you. I use the quick formula. They show a little more detail, and we'll be going over that as we can do, I don't know, there's thousands of other formulas built into Excel. We're going to start learning about some of those. So as I look in the book, verifying we have all our correct numbers. And again, the book goes in a little more detail. Don't be afraid to go back and review any of the thing on the book. If you're not sure how a particular cell, why that number's there, how that calculation was done. Oh, it looks like we do want highest, lowest, average of the dependents as well. So I'm just going to do a select through there, copy, and paste here. And it will show me the highest, lowest, average of the dependents. And it looks like I want to shorten that to 1 decimal. So I'm going to decrease my decimal on the highest, lowest, average of dependents. See how easy that's done? If I have highest, lowest calculated already, I simply can copy paste it to another column. Never hurts to know how it was done though. Remember, we just selected a cell and did average, max, or min for highest and lowest. And I have realized I just haven't saved this yet. I better do a Control S now that I've done a lot of work. I'm going to Control S this and put it in my cs101 folder. Spring 2016. And the name on this file should be Manning, or your last name, EX2. Your last name, EX2, is what this should be saved to. .xlsx is the suffix that will be added. So at this point, we have all our numbers in there. Check your numbers. And are you happy with how they got there? Now it's time to do a little bit more complicated things. We're going to pretty it up a little bit more. One of the things we're going to do is, well, we're going to mess with the title. They also decide they want to change the workbook theme before they start choosing colors, because the theme determines what colors are available. In the book, they want us to choose, in the themes gallery, the basis theme. So just like in Word, I can adjust my theme, and that's over, I believe, the page layout and the theme over here. Remember, the theme is a combination of colors, fonts, and effects to give you a consistent look and feel. So choosing a theme, there's the basis theme, a little greenish. We don't see any difference except, what do we see? We saw the change in the fonts. Control Z goes back to my previous default font. I actually like this font better. I don't like serif fonts, but in the book they're asking us to use the basis theme. That, to me, makes it a little harder to read. Some people, I guess, like that kind of font. I don't like it for numbers. But we'll go with that. Now, as we choose different colors, we have a different set of colors will show up. And now we can just kind of do like we did before. Zoom out a little bit. We're going to merge and center our title across the top. Going back to the Home tab, there's my merge and center. Merge and center that. I have to do them separately. They can't be merged and centered together, or it'll wipe out one or the other. Now I apply a title style to this one. And we're also going to be putting a background on it, it looks like. And did we give it a style, or did we just give it a font size? Let's see on that. Looks like we give it subtitle. We already changed. Let's see, we just did a fill. Yep. So this one here, I'll change that style. I'm going to give that a. Do we have a subtitle? We have a title. Maybe I'll just give a title and then decrease the font size a little bit. And now both of them, we're going to fill it with a green background. This is where we see the effect of the theme. We have a different color table because of the theme that I had selected before I started filling in my cells. And the exact color, I'm not going to be too worried about. I guess we do give a nice fat border around this, a nice dark border. Right there, I can give a thick outer border.
I don't see borders on my.
On the Home tab, this guy right here.
Oh.
Now we're going to put total style to these totals rows. That one there. apply a total style all the way out to the edge. Even though this cell is blank, we'll still put total style there. And this one here, we made heading 2. Yeah, heading 2 looks a little better. Heading 1, I think it's, yeah, heading 2. And we make these headers, the row headings, bold by selecting and Control B. And let's see what else they want us to do now. We want to come back to that date formula. See how the dates are kind of a long year? We want to put that in a different style date. So I'm going to select through these cells that have a date in them. And I can right-click Format Cells, go to the Number tab and tell it, hey, this is, treat it like a date, but put it in a format of the month, the day, and the year in 2-digit. Selecting that doesn't change the number, but it changes the display of it. See how that's nicely shortened a little bit? I think we're going to center that as well. Remember how I did that? I went to right-click, Format Cell, the Number tab, and then show it. It's a date in a particular format. That Format Cells is very powerful, and as we get more familiar, there's lots of options on that format, what they call Format Cells dialog. So date in that format is what I want, and then I click OK. If I decided a different locale, it would adjust it based on that country's method, and I'm going to leave it in that format. And then continue on. I think we're, no, I guess they're not centering that. They like some of the cells to have the little dollar signs next to them. So starting with hourly pay rate and across, I drag across those cells. Waiting for it to happen. Let's try that again. Hourly pay rate. There we go. Drag across those cells. Control drag through these cells. And also control, oops, control, I don't want percent in that format. I'm going to control, did I mess up? Let's see if it'll let me deselect those. I messed up. Let's try that again. Select, not to tax percent. I messed up on the tax. Control select, and then control select, and control select. Now putting those in accounting format with that little dollar sign. Just a little detail they add in the book to show we are dealing with US dollars. And everything else was already in comma format because I was putting in comma format to help me verify my numbers. And I think we will stop there because the conditional formatting is something we're going to have to think about because that's a little more confusing. So we'll stop right there. Control S. Oh, Control S to verify it's saved. We'll do conditional formatting. If you're welcome to look ahead and see how that conditional formatting worked. But we're going to take a little while to think about that because it's can be very confusing. That's something that a lot of people can get confused on the tests. So have a great day. I think we're ahead in our schedule, so we're comfortable. Check that you're doing your e-quizzes. Those have due dates.